Okay.
Don't forget the sugar cone.
So we're setting the Savageaux M15 bear snare. I got my tote of goodies here. It's got rice cakes, ice cream cones, graham crackers, waffle cones. In the bags I've got cake mix, and then I've got syrup, anise oil, and vanilla to put on top, and then I've got marshmallows to put on the trigger. So when you order the M15, you get this spring, which is what throws the snare or tightens it, and you also get the snare. The snare comes with a slide lock and a heavy-duty swivel. You got to supply your own chain or cable and whatever you want to connect with. But you get the snare and the thrower. I ordered this from North Bay Fur Harvesters. I think it was $59, around 60 bucks. Anyway, I got a couple of them. We're going to be setting both of them today. There's been a great big male bear hanging around this area. We got nice big clearing and mixed throughout it. We just got a bunch of apple trees, and so it's a nice area. And then in the far back we got a pretty thick bush with a little bit of swamp down in there. So I got these two trees set up here, and I'll anchor my chain around the left tree, get the trap set up, and I'll show you guys in depth how to set it. So you take your spring, and this part here is actually your trigger. It's going to sit down inside the pail. The spring unit is actually going to sit outside the pail, and I usually put marshmallows right on the trigger. When he puts his hand in the pail and goes to pull them out, it'll actually move that down right there, and that will send the spring open. Right now the safety's on. So you got this little bar here that comes down and out. That goes on the inside of the pail also. So the pail is actually pinched in between this L bracket and the spring itself, and that's what secures the spring inside the pail. So I'm just gonna slide that down in there like so, and then that just sits there like that. I'm gonna take my chain, and this chain is actually longer than I need. So I'm going to give it about a foot. Of extra chain to play with. Lock that on. And then your snare is going to just sit in the top of the pail. So what I do is I drill holes for chunks of wire. I usually like to put 4 chunks of wire on. And this is what's going to suspend the snare itself, so it doesn't fall down inside the pail, and so it actually stays to the right shape. What that does is it kind of keeps everything hidden. Not that bears are overly particular about chain or anything like that. So then all you do is you just kind of hook the wires just loosely. You're just bending them over, because what's that going to do is the spring is powerful enough that it'll actually just close that snare anyway. So then, if you want to zoom in here, you take your loop, either the eye of the swivel or the eye of your, and you put it over this back part of the spring right there, because when that spring throws, it's going to cause that snare to close around the bear's paw. So you just make sure that that spring is set firm. You got your lock, you got your snare open as much as possible, and away you go. So I still got to set the trigger mechanism on the spring, but right now that's good to go. I'm going to start filling that with bait. If you want to just take a, you could. So I got the anise oil, and I'm just going to take a branch and shove it into the bottle. Get it around that leaf. That'll just get that much more scent up in the air. You want the bear to find this bait. And that's just a little bit of vanilla. Dash it inside the bait. The anise oil I don't put on the bait. I find that stuff doesn't overly like the taste of it, but it's the smell that draws them in. And then just a little bit of syrup, and then I'll just even put a little bit of the syrup around. So now that's all set, ready to go. I just got to set the trigger. So if you want to come back here, so all you do for setting the trigger is you just squeeze the spring together, latch that up underneath, make sure that your safety's still there to catch in case it slips. But you just want that to hook around that, and now it's set. So now you just make sure that your safety gone out of the way, and now that's a complete set. It's triggered, ready to be set off. So as soon as the bear reaches down in there, you want to show them that inside the pail, and when he grabs that bunch of marshmallows, it'll trigger that, and his hand will be down about a foot below the snare, and his reaction time won't be fast enough to pull out before that snare is closed around his wrist or his forearm. So anyway, that's set number one, and hopefully we get him. So when you get your M15 bear snare, the spring comes set up exactly like this. The spring will be set with the safety on, and it'll be all folded up like this. But when it comes like this, the trigger is actually on the wrong side. You got to actually turn it around 360 degrees to the other side. And when you go to do that, I know I had a hard time trying to figure it all out because it seems like there's something wrong, but you're going to come out to here and not be able to go past this one little dowel coming out. All you have to do is just grab it, bring it out past that, slip it over, rotate it all the way around so that the spring, or the trigger, sorry, is on the same side of the spring as the spring bar that holds the unit in the pail. So for this one here, I'm going to come down again. You're putting the trigger mechanism inside the pail along with the pinch bar, and the spring unit is staying outside of the pail. So you just get that over, slide it down. You want your trigger off the bottom about an inch or so, just so that it has movement to it. So when he grabs that, it pulls up, and this, you can see how that moves down. And when it's set, that ½ inch gap will be closed, and that'll actually be inside here. So when he pulls on that, brings that down, flings that open. So I got my other snare. Same thing. This chain is a lot longer than I need. And you don't want to leave a long chain. The less free movement that the trapped animal has, the better. So again, I'm going to give him about a foot of chain to work with. Plus, once that snare is closed, he's going to have another foot. So he'll have about 2 feet. The chain will pivot around the tree, plus he's got the inline swivel. Having a snack? So right now I'm just cutting a couple little chunks of wire to hold the snare up. Get that snare set around there. Bring my wire around the snare just loosely. You can see how easily that snare's popping out of there. Wire. So there we go, we got that set there. So I'm just going to take a bunch of this, Stick it up in there. This is the cake mix. Let it catch the breeze. Get that smell around the area. And I just take these marshmallows are starting to gob up. Put it on the trigger in there. And then so here again, I'll show you. Just put your actually what I'll do is I'll set the spring right now. So there we go. Spring is now set. You can see the trigger is all set up there. No, hide. So then what I'm going to do, try and get that over there. Okay, now you just make sure, take your safety off. Make sure it's out of the way there, good. So I got my lock actually around the throwing arm. Everything's baited up there. Now I'll just give it a last minute. Little squirt. Below the vanilla. Up the tree, just get the wind to catch that. Then I'll actually, right here, that branch. Stick it down in that bottle. And get it on that. Just to get that scent up, airborne. Again, that's the anise oil. Goes up. Vanilla can go inside. And away we go. So there's the two sets. The two sets are probably, I would say, maybe 100 yards from each other. I'm just targeting one bear here, so this is a hardwood ridge that we're up on. The apple orchard is over to our left, and yeah, so here we go.